started with my wife, Nancy. Shit. Excuse me for a second. It all started with my wife, Nancy. Is that a good key for you guys? All right. It all started with my wife, Nancy, wanting me to fix the garbage disposal. But we needed pliers. But we didn't have pliers. So I had to go down to the hardware store to get some. Because if I went to the bakery, that would have been stupid. So I get down to the hardware store, and there's this tall guy with a wispy mustache, yapping away on his cell phone, standing right in front of the entrance. Right in front of the entrance! Now, the only possible explanation for standing right in front of an entrance is if you're on a blind date. And you have no distinguishing characteristics. Then you can just be like, hey, I'll be the douchebag standing right in front of the entrance. You can't possibly miss me. Now, logic dictates that when you're standing right in front of an entrance, and someone needs to use the store, you get out of the way. Instead, this selfish bastard moves like an eighth of an inch. An eighth of an inch! That would be perfect if I were a slice of cheese or a manila envelope. So I get within an eighth of an inch of Captain Stay Still and elbow him in the ribs and then knee him in the groin. Then while he's on the ground writhing in pain, I pull out a couple of steak knives from my pocket, which I then hold exactly an eighth of an inch away from his eyes. And then chop off both his ears. Then I drag him over to a phone booth and push each of the four walls in until they're exactly an eighth of an inch away from each other, which turns his body beet red till he looks like a giant Twizzler. Then I chop him up with my knife into eighth of an inch pieces and feed him to some nearby squirrels. Okay, I didn't really do that. I'm a Jew from Long Island who hasn't been in a fight since high school. After Jeffrey Kurtzman told me that Fonzie could sit on it. So instead of confronting hardware store douchebag, what I did is I just squeezed past him. So I got my pliers and I'm rather annoyed, and thank God he's not blocking the exit as I'm walking out. Then I spot him, yakking away on his cell phone, standing right in front of the Pinkberry entrance across the street, proving what a versatile dickhead he can be. So I got my pliers, and I'm so worked up I can't even make it a mile without honking at someone. And I don't just mean a little tap on the horn, it's like, meep, oh, light screen, you can go ahead now, sir. I'm talking about giving the car in front of me the finger with both hands, while slamming my head down on the car horn. Finally make it home. I toss the pliers on the kitchen cabinet. I'm in no mood for repair work, and I'm trying to relax on the couch. And I'm trying to unwind, sipping a smoothie, watching that reality show, the one where none of the people like each other. And I'm finally starting to unwind. And then I notice my hands are itching. I mean, my hands are itching the shit out of me. I mean, my hands are itching so much, I can't even pick up a pen and write. My hands are itching. I freak out. I race up to the bathroom. I slather my hands in calamine lotion. Doesn't work. I use some of Nancy's special aloe vera gel. I pop a Benadryl. Nope. I soak my hands in a spaghetti pot filled with Epsom salts. No dice. I'm out of ideas, so I call my buddy Dennis on the phone to see if he has any extra strength hydrocortisone cream he can loan me. He doesn't? Hoarder! Instead, Dennis refers me to his dermatologist at UCLA Medical Center. Hold on a second, dermatologist? I mean, there's a little bit of a rash on my hands and they're itching, but is this really worth a $40 copay? I go. Dr. Tam is a typical old-school physician of about 60. Now, here's what I expected to happen in that initial doctor's office with Dr. Tam. In the following sequence, I'll be playing both myself and Dr. Tam. You can differentiate between the two of us by the angle at which I'm standing. Hi, Dr. Tam, my hands itch. Try some of this special cream, son. Thanks, Dr. Tam. I sure will. That's not what went down. Here's what did. Hi, Dr. Tam, my hands itch. I'm not surprised. You seem really stressed. But you spent like 9 seconds with me. I know, but your energy is overpowering. You're the most uptight, high-strung person I've ever met in my life. And the problem isn't in your hands. It's in your head. Dr. Tam pulls out a prescription pad, scribbles something down, tears it off and hands it to me. Zoloft? Hey, isn't that for depression? Because I'm not depressed. It's one of the few things that doesn't happen to me. God, now I'm depressed just thinking that you think I'm depressed. Then my new derma psychologist proceeds to tell me that Zoloft is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which will help to take some of my edge off. Had any friends or family been in the examination room that day? Dr. Tam would have been the first dermatologist in history to get a standing ovation. Okay, on paper, I seem like a healthy guy. I eat right, exercise regularly, drink in moderation, never smoke, am caffeine-free, get plenty of sleep, and I've only missed one day of flossing over the past 5 years. But underneath the wholesome habits, I'm always getting sick. Here are just some of the ailments that have happened to me. A dislocated jaw from grinding my teeth too hard in my sleep. Prostatitis, something that 2 doctors diagnosed as a brain tumor. A torn cornea from flipping through a newspaper too quickly outside on a windy day. Walking pneumonia. Colitis. Hepatitis. Frostbite from eating ice cream too quickly. Vertigo. And bronchitis. 6 times. Oh, and shingles. And the itchy palms. But it took a skin doctor to help me realize I didn't have a collection of diseases. Just one. Hyperchondria. A word I've created to explain my condition. Now, before we go any further, let me explain the difference between a hypochondriac, not me, and a hyperchondriac, me. Now, a hypochondriac goes to the doctor, thinks they're sick, but there's nothing wrong with them. The hypochondriac's imaginary ailments could be solved with a variety of placebos. Dog kibble, Halloween candy, a button from a rugby shirt. Conversely, placebos don't work on hyperchondriacs because hyperchondriacs actually are sick. The seed of each disease originates in their hyperbrains and creates a swirl of inner turmoil throughout the rest of their bodies. Hence, the itchy palms and everything else on PowerPoint Man. Bye. He can't wave back. Actually, he could have, but it would have been another $350. I take Dr. Tam's advice, fill his prescription, and reluctantly become a Zoloftian. Miraculously, within 48 hours of taking those pills, I feel calm and at peace for the first time in my life. It feels like my body has floated up to the heavens, and I'm looking down at myself with a fresh perspective, finally behaving as I should. Those delightful drugs sent messages throughout my body that gave me a revelation. Maybe I wasn't as perfect as I thought. See, pre-Zoloft, I thought I was a sole human born without the asshole gene. She's an asshole, you're an asshole, you with a hat, you're an asshole too. But after taking Zoloft, I realized, hey, maybe they're not the assholes. Maybe I'm the asshole. So things for the next 8.5 months were going pretty swell for me in my serotonin-modified brain. And although Dr. Tam had given me warnings about side effects such as nausea, insomnia, and erectile dysfunction, my stomach was fine, I was sleeping like a baby, and I didn't remember seeing any complaints about our sex life on Nancy's Twitter feed. I chewed my food instead of swallowing it whole, like a snake. I went on hikes without checking my watch every 15 seconds. And I actually stopped at a yellow light. Just once, and it was a rolling stop, but still. The only side effect I got from Zoloft was calm. Then, one autumn afternoon, life got a lot less calm. I'm driving along some windy Hollywood Hills roads when a guy in a Honda drifts into my lane and almost hits me head on, forcing me to steer my car into some bushes. Then Honda guy stops his car, rolls down his window, and gives me the finger, to the delight of the snarling collie in his passenger seat. Hang on, you almost crashed into me and you're giving me the finger? I know, I should just ignore him and drive home. But I can't! Instantly, I pull a U-turn and tailgate Honda Man till he gets out of the dog park. Then I chase that collie-owning dickwad across the soccer field while simultaneously threatening to rip his head off his neck. Yes, I'm quite the multitasker. I get within an eighth of an inch of him, and I'm spewing out hate and threats, and they're bouncing off of his face and back into mine. My neck veins are popping out like cuckoo clocks. I'm bordering on an aneurysm. I give him one last point and pump out my chest and head back to my car, shaking. Jesus Christ. What the hell did I just do? Honda Man could have killed me. He could have been a big guy with a knife, or a small guy with a gun, or a medium guy with a really high leg kick. I head home and collapse in bed for the next 14 hours. Meltdowns are exhausting. The next morning I wake up, my jaw aches, my neck is throbbing. It feels like I'm getting an ulcer. The first signs of body malfunction since my palms stopped itching. My hypochondria is back. I return to Dr. Tam's office, who immediately doubles my Zoloft dose from 50 milligrams to 100 milligrams. The only trouble is, the 100 milligrams doesn't make me twice as calm as when I was on the 50. It just brings me back to the original feeling when I was first prescribed the drug. Then I learned that the maximum recommended dose of Zoloft is 200 milligrams, which means after less than a year, I was already halfway there. Great, so in another couple of years, I could be immune to this entire selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor family. Then what the hell do I do? But now that I know what being calm and peaceful felt like, and that it could be achieved within the confines of my body, I had to get back to that state, before the drugs lost their effect on me, before nothing in my body worked anymore, before I was dead. I have to hurry up and calm down! I already knew the birthday of my hypochondria, 1977. The year I was bar mitzvahed, and my mother was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. MS had transformed my mother, seemingly overnight, from a warm, thoughtful first-grade teacher into an angry, frustrated woman who could no longer drive or get her shoes on without help. Please, hold your laughter. To compensate for her helplessness, my mother managed to package the endearing troika of being very impatient, very irritated, and very demanding. And when she wasn't yelling at everybody in the house, doors were slammed and objects flung around as if we lived in an arthritic Foley studio. She had just turned 37. Time for my mother wasn't measured in minutes and seconds, but in units of pain and discomfort. And whenever my mother needed anything, she would ring a buzzer above her bed. And my father would race in and drop whatever he was doing and help her and get there as soon as he could. But no matter how fast my father got there, it was never fast enough. And my mother would explode at him. So I started doing things quickly too, so I wouldn't get yelled at. Whenever I was given a book report in school, I'd read the entire book that night. Then, of course, forget 99% of the book by the time classroom discussion rolled around 4 months from then. I'd walk my dog while he still had his last mouthful of dinner in his teeth. I'd just yank him out. And as soon as it started to snow, as soon as that first flake hit the ground, I'd be outside shoveling in hopes that our driveway would be the first in the neighborhood to be cleared. So, that's the hyper. Here comes the chondria. Studying for my bar mitzvah was not going well. My mind was so frantic, I was falling so far behind in the lessons that my bar mitzvah was in danger of being postponed, which would have made my mother go apeshit. Fortunately, Rabbi Worthman cut me a deal. He would put in some extra hours with me after class and after temple if I would put forth a little bit of a better effort. With Rabbi Worthman's extra hours and extra tutoring sessions and my extra effort, my bar mitzvah was back on track. Rabbi Worthman even gave me a pewter Jewish Star of David necklace to encourage me to keep up the hard work. I fumbled through my entire bar mitzvah, which fortunately is not a pass-fail event. You pretty much show up, get through it, and come out the other end a man. I had graduated to adulthood and had the checks from my relatives to prove it. All was fine. Until about a week later, my father gets a phone call. Rabbi Worthman had quit the temple and was moving up to Woonsocket, Rhode Island, to become an Episcopalian minister. Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? What could have made Worthman switch teams so quickly? Was it because of me? Was it me and my sloppy Torah reading on the pulpit? I forgot you're supposed to read shit from right to left. So wait a second, am I not a man? Or am I an Episcopalian man? These are rhetorical questions, no need to shout out the answers. Incidentally, here is something that my fake rabbi got real published in 1981. The answer to your question is Jesus Rabbi, a Christ Alive publication, not yet available on Kindle. Angie, can we show them the back of the book? I bet we can. There you go. Have you ever seen a more handsome Episcopalian minister who used to be a Jew before? Because I haven't. From the moment I realized my rabbi was a fraud, I started taking the Jewish Star of David necklace and started grinding it into the center of my chest. Actually, grinding is not even the right word. It's more like pounding it into the center of my chest, like a crazed woodpecker. So much so that I made a dent in my sternum. When my father saw the damage I was inflicting with the Jewish Star, he took it away. But then I just substituted my fingers and started the poking this way. Then he took my hands away. And it grew back. My father was out of ideas, so he sent me to the family physician, Dr. Marino, to see what he could do for my sternum poking problem. And Dr. Marino's solution was to have me tape a bunch of gauze pads under my t-shirts. And it actually worked, until I was able to poke through 8 layers of gauze. So Dr. Marino referred me to a hypnotist, who called me the most uptight, high-strung person he's ever met in his life. Which, thanks to my derma psychologist, I now know to be a bad thing. But as a 13-year-old, I thought I'd be given a large trophy. The hypnosis worked, and I finally stopped poking my sternum. But if you've seen even 2 or 3 minutes of the show, you see, now I touch all other parts of my body that I can't help. I'm sorry, I touch here, I touch here, I touch my right eye, but not my left eye. I'm sorry, I'm like a crazed third base coach. Constantly giving the bunt signal to an endless stream of imaginary people. I'm sorry, I can't stop. You'll just have to cope with it, or do what my friends do, and just turn it into a drinking game. Touching his left calf again. Peach schnapps! Peach schnapps! But back to my search for calm. These well-meaning friends of mine are always giving me suggestions on how to calm down. A friend recently said that I should move to a farm. Can you see me on a farm? I wouldn't last a day on a farm. I'd just bring all the other animals up to my pace. Then a bunch of cows going moo 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 moo. Roosters are like, cock-a-doodle-doo, it's 2:30 in the morning, get up, we got shit to do. When I mentioned to Nancy about my quest to get off the Zoloft and seek drug-free alternatives to remaining calm, she was totally supportive. I mean, besides, it's not like Nancy doesn't have her set of quirks. There was a time Nancy fainted at a Trader Joe's after a 12-ounce bottle of Arizona iced tea landed on her foot. And whenever Nancy sees or hears an ambulance, she has to bite her tongue 10 times very quickly. So the ambulance isn't coming for her. And whenever Nancy sees all 3 numbers the same on a clock, like 222 or 333, she forces me to stare at it with her and make a wish. My wish is always the same. I wish my wife would stop making me stare at the microwave. Yes, 5:56. Wish came true. I decided to begin my search for calm in the simplest manner available to me. Going online and searching for some inspirational quotes. Now, I'm usually not the inspirational quote type guy. I hate that book, The Secret. I hate that Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And it all started with that douchebag Robert Fulgram's "everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten" crap. Oh, really, Robert? You learned how to grout a bathtub in kindergarten. You learned how to parallel park in kindergarten. You learned how to pour a black and tan in kindergarten. Did you also learn how to bullshit in kindergarten, Robert? Robert. While Googling online, which is where 97% of all Googling takes place, I came across something that piqued my interest even more than an inspirational quote. A course in understanding and transforming anger. The 2-week, 4-hour course would run me $50, so I sign up. I enter the anger removal center and expected there to be a bunch of guys with shaved heads and neck tattoos who were running a little late because beating their wives or girlfriends had taken longer than expected. But instead, the majority of the people there were women in business suits. The teacher, Eileen, a perky 50-year-old, enters and tells us that since the class is sold out, we're going to wait a few minutes for everyone to get there. Are you kidding me? We're not starting the class on time! I wonder if this is just a gimmick to get everyone riled up and start a riot, and we know who the truly angry are! Now take a deep breath. It's way too happy to get angry in anger management. When the class finally started, 8 minutes late! Thanks, Eileen! The first thing that we learned is that when you get angry, the adrenal glands release cortisol, epinephrine, and other stress hormones into the bloodstream. Then, your heart rate speeds up, your blood pressure rises, your breathing becomes short, your muscles tense, your brain becomes hyper-alert, and the heart pumps more and more blood into the arms and legs. And that's not all. Your digestive and immune systems practically shut down. This was a secret to my hypochondria. Being angry and stressed taxed my organs and invited disease into my body. Yes! I'm so getting an A in this class. Then Eileen went to the blackboard and wrote, "Where did your hands go?" I wrote disappointment and said that the #1 cause of anger is disappointment. What causes disappointment? Expectations. If we no longer have expectations, we can never be disappointed. This actually made sense to me. So I'm angry because I expected to have a healthy mother when I was a teenager. And my mother's angry because she expected to be able to walk on her 38th birthday. And my father's angry because, well, actually he isn't. He's an enabler, part of the problem. Then Eileen went to the blackboard and wrote, and said that the best litmus test she has for deciding whether or not to get angry about something is the 1-year rule. Will you remember the inciting incident a year from then? 99% of the time you won't. You won't remember a waiter showing up with the wrong meal, or a friend coming 20 minutes late, or your Sunday paper getting stolen. Like, would I remember the guy sitting next to me in class with a walrus mustache incessantly clicking his pen, click, 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 through the entire 2 hours? Yes, because it's happened in 2005, and it still fucking pisses me off! Still, I appreciated Eileen's 1-year rule. Our assignment for the week was to write down everything we get angry at and then share it with the class. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm on my 100 milligrams of Zoloft. I'm absorbing Eileen's words of wisdom. I'm planning on having my first anger-free week ever. But I couldn't even keep my promise for a day. The next morning around 11:30, I'm at a supermarket buying one of these prepackaged salads, and there's 9 people ahead of me online. You know why? Because there's only one cash register open. I'm livid! Are you kidding me? It's almost lunchtime. You only have one cash register open? $8.50 for some lettuce and lettuce sauce? You think you could afford to hire a second cashier around here? I couldn't wait to share this with the anger class. Hopefully I can get them all riled up too. At the beginning of the next class, Eileen casually remarks to us that her chemotherapy really drained her that day. Jesus Christ. The anger teacher had cancer. That's probably how she got the cancer, from being angry. Eileen nonchalantly segues back into the anger syllabus But my mind is stuck on our cancer. All of a sudden, the supermarket incident seems pointless. Everything does. Who cares if I have to stand in line at a supermarket carrying a 1-pound salad for an extra 3 minutes? I should be joyful just being able to walk through the aisles of a supermarket. Something my mother hasn't been able to do since the Clash broke up. I'm an educated white guy born to middle-class parents in America who's been given all the components for a healthy body, and I'm throwing it all away. How much more perfect could my life possibly be? What did I really have to complain about? From now on, I vow to only get upset at major things, like the crackdown in Syria, and that Kim Kardashian and Chris Humphries couldn't make it work. But after a month, thoughts of Eileen and her affirmations fade, as most affirmations do. And I tell Nancy that I fear I'm just one snapping incident away from being this close to the maximum recommended dose of Zoloft. Nancy suggests yoga. Now, I seem like an unlikely candidate for yoga, because yoga lengthens and elongates muscles, and for the past 2.5 decades, I have been bodybuilding. Yes, I realize I don't currently look like a bodybuilder. I could barely pass for a gymnast at this point. However, I've added up the hours I've lifted weights in my life. It comes out to over 13,000 hours in the gym. Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers says that you need to hit the 10,000-hour plateau in order to become a master at something. So instead of becoming one of the Beatles or Bill Gates, I've mastered the skill of lifting something really, really heavy and putting it back down in the exact same place. Excellent use of time. I got involved with bodybuilding at the age of 13, the year everything in my life collapsed. I was tired of being scrawny. I wanted to build my body up so I didn't get sick like my mother. At the age of 13, I put myself on a program I read about in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. The book weighed like 30 pounds. I mean, it was a workout just to carry that thing out of the bookstore. That Arnold was a genius. It's still hard to believe that when I was a teenager, that housekeeper fucker was my favorite author. Every day for the next 5 years, I'd come home from high school, put on my tight black Steve Miller Band concert t-shirt, hike up my short shorts, and pull my white tube socks up over my knees, and go in my garage and lift weights for 2 hours a day. Do I have time for one more rep? Then, when I was 19, something happened that sent my little bodybuilding hobby into overdrive. I overheard my parents whispering in their bedroom about someone named Andrew. Like, who's this Andrew? Then I discover Andrew is my brother. I had a brother named Andrew. Yay! Unfortunately, Andrew is dead. Boo. He had died of SIDS about a year before I was born. Instantly, my entire perspective on life changed. I now realized not only could I get sick as suddenly as my mother, but I could die as suddenly as Andrew. From the moment I learned that I was a replacement baby, I vowed to turn things up another notch and accomplish as much as I could as quickly as possible before my time on Earth was through. First thing on the agenda? Bodybuilding competitions. I mailed in my entry form for the Mr. Natural New England contest. For those of you who are bodybuilding novices, natural means steroid-free. And for those of you who are bodybuilding experts, natural, it still means steroid-free. For a mere $40, the president of the American Natural Bodybuilding Conference would allow me to stand on stage in a tiny Speedo and show strangers my six-pack, which at the time I thought was a bargain. My pre-competition training regimen was tougher than anything I ever had to do in my life. Not only did I have to lift weights for 2 hours a day, I had to stuff 7,000 calories into my mouth every single day to keep my muscles full. When I went for my college physical, the doctor diagnosed me with big anorexia. Yes, there is such a thing. Just like anorexics never think they're thin enough, big anorexia never think they're big enough. I was told to not lift weights so much and to eat in moderation, and for once in my life, I ignored what a doctor told me. As the competition grew nearer, I had to gradually whittle my calories down, from 7,000 calories a day all the way down to 900 calories a day. 900 calories a day, while still lifting weights for 2 hours a day and spending another hour flexing and holding each pose. while maintaining a cheesy smile that told the world that this was effortless. Like it's normal for a human being to show off the width of his back. They call my group out onto the stage and flashbulbs flicker. I'm wearing a lavender Speedo with the number 13 safety pin to my hip, sandwiched between some guy named Jordan, who must have 40 pounds on me, and some guy named Dan, who had killer abs, but no discernible chest. Then, while on stage, battling guys with better tans, it hits me. Other men are judging my body, and I'm letting them. And I paid $40 for this. And I still have this is effortless grin on my face. And I look down at myself for a second and I think, I am so fucking gay right now, I can't stand it. When I announced the winner, I was in shock. I'm Mr. Natural New England, 1984. Okay, Angie, we can get rid of the picture now. Immediately upon stuffing my trophy in my car, I went out after winning Mr. Natural New England, and I went on a major eating binge. I went to a pizza place and ate an entire pie by myself. Then I went to IHOP, ate a huge stack of pancakes by myself. By the time I got to my car, my stomach was coated in pain. So I drove myself to the emergency room. See, what happens is, when you're 900 calories a day, your stomach shrinks to the size of a walnut. And then the avalanche of pizza and pancakes made my stomach unshrink so quickly, it almost went through my diaphragm wall. I have a hiatal hernia. For the next 3 days, I'm instructed to sleep with the head of my bed raised so that no acids can flow into my esophagus. And I'm not allowed to eat any food for 72 hours. Nothing, not even a rice cake. After fasting like a Falun Gong leader, I finally felt better. And despite that experience, I still went on to compete in bodybuilding competitions for the next 7 years. Runner-up Mr. Southern Connecticut, third place Mr. New York Metropolitan. And after my bodybuilding days were over, I still lifted weights for an hour and a half a day, 4 days a week. But now that I'm on a quest for calm, I figure stretching muscles and yoga is worth a shot. The first thing the yoga instructor tells us is that we all carry our recent stress in our shoulders and our historical stress in our hips. Then he leads us through a series of poses that we have to calmly breathe through and relax. The rationale being, if you can stay calmly balanced on one leg with both your hands in the air, then you definitely won't freak out when somebody hacks into your Facebook account. About an hour into class, we shift from the one-legged warrior three pose on the left leg to the one-legged warrior three pose on the right leg. And after holding this pose for about 5 seconds, my body collapses. I can't move. It feels like somebody snuck into my hip and severed all the tendons and ligaments with a hacksaw. Ow! Historical stress! The good news is, the paramedics arrived quickly. The bad news, I'm leaving my first yoga class on a gurney. The doctors at the emergency room diagnosed me with a torn muscle in my hip. For the next few weeks, I can't walk at all, and I can't even get my shoes on without Nancy's help. And I'm beginning to understand how my mother feels. When you're totally reliant on someone else, little things become big things, and big things become overwhelming. At first, the yoga injury brings Nancy and I closer together, but after a few days, I just start snapping at her, just like my mother does to my father. I try everything to get my hip stronger, everything. I go to acupuncture, $1,200 worth of acupuncture. Doesn't work. I go to physical therapy, they send me home. My hip isn't even strong enough to ride the recumbent bike on the lowest setting. Finally, a friend of a friend refers me to the Pain Foundation. I enter the confines of the Pain Foundation and expect to see a bunch of people there just moaning in pain. Oh, I'm in so much pain! Ah! Oh, it hurts. But it's just like every other waiting room. Bored people in old magazines. The Pain Foundation doctor gives me a series of experimental cortisone shots injected directly into my spine and directly into my hip. And now I know why they call it the Pain Foundation. And by the way, experimental is code for your insurance won't be covering this. The Pain Foundation guy is out of ideas, so he writes me a prescription for Celebrex in hopes that it will reduce the inflammation in my hip. And he says to always take it with food. So I do. But even taking one Celebrex with a full dinner, I can feel the insides of my stomach being ripped apart, which I thought might be my imagination. Until I went on the Celebrex website and read this. Stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning and may cause death. Of all the things that I thought could kill me, I never thought it would be a yoga class. I'm then referred to hydrotherapy since water offers less resistance on the joints. The only trouble is I can't swim. Yes, I've tried many times, and no, you probably wouldn't be able to teach me either, but thank you for the offer. The only way I could float is if I was caught in a tuna net. So for the next 6 months, I strapped on a life jacket and clutched a styrofoam kickboard and paddled my way across the width of a pool. My hydrotherapist always had a lot of other clients there, none of whom were under the age of 80, which probably explains why all the kickboards are shaped like tombstones. And the oldies would bombard me with questions. What'd you do to yourself, sweetie? I hurt my hip. Doing what? Yoga. Hey, isn't yoga supposed to be good for you? Yes, Maggie. Hydrotherapy was helping, but my stomach was killing me. So I went to my gastroenterologist, who diagnoses me with an ulcer. I need to stop taking the Celebrex immediately, which makes my hydrotherapy sessions a lot more painful. But it's better than bleeding to death in a pool, which would really freak out all my new old people friends. A scant 14 months after being introduced to the magic of yoga, I'm finally able to walk without pain, and I'm ulcer-free. And despite having Blue Cross and Blue Shield, by the time the smoke cleared, and I had paid my deductible, my team of land and water therapists, my acupuncturist, my gastroenterologist, and the guy at the Pain Foundation, that one yoga class had cost me $6,300. That's right, I had parlayed a $15 investment into a 42,000% loss. Which doesn't even include the yoga mat I borrowed from Nancy's friend and left up at the studio during the whole gurney hullabaloo. Maybe it's a sign to focus more on my mind. If anyone would have ever bet me that I would spend $270 to sit in a classroom and listen to 10 weeks of Kabbalah lectures, I would have wagered my entire checking account. Which after the hip episode wasn't much, but that's not the point. See, ever since my rabbi converted and left the temple, organized religion freaks me out. I can't go into any house of worship. Hebrew letters make me nauseous. If a friend has a mezuzah on their door, I'm tempted to enter their house through their window. Don't believe me? Here is me, less than 3 years ago, as the best man at my brother's wedding, fainting after the girl that you're about to see says the word church.
I bring with me greetings from my home church in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I'm an ordained elder, but had not planned to participate in the ceremony.
Nancy catching me. She's actually incorporated my fainting into her workout routines. But Nancy's friend Renata swore by Kabbalah and said that without Kabbalah, she never would have been able to quit smoking or get that new job, which the cynic in me thought also could have been accomplished with the patch and Monster.com. But I needed to keep trying things, so I sucked it up. I got to the Kabbalah Center about a half hour early and had time to kill, so I started rummaging around in the Kabbalah gift shop. It gave me pride that these pseudo-Jews, or whatever the hell they were into promoting their cult. I mean, really, that's why Christianity took off and Judaism didn't. Marketing. But really, think about it. They have a guy's face and body on stained glass windows and bobblehead dolls and action figures and hats and air fresheners. What do we have? We have a 6-pointed star, which can so easily be confused with the Houston Astros logo. I enter the classroom and, to divert my attention from the Hebrew letters on the walls, I start talking to this red-headed girl sitting next to me, who's probably an actress. She seems so emotionally fragile, as if all of her tears are lined up behind her eyes, I'm ready to just leap out at a moment's notice. The teacher, Ethan, enters wearing a yarmulke that thankfully blends in with his hair color. Yarmulkes make me queasy too. The first thing Ethan tells us is that Kabbalah in Hebrew means to receive, and that we're all disconnected from our souls, but can reconnect once we understand the concepts of the light and the vessel. And we all need to transform our thoughts from reactive to proactive. There's a lot of other mumbo-jumbo, some of which make sense, some of which seem like the Jewish version of Scientology. Then Ethan mysteriously and slickly segues into this little spiel about the Kabbalah water, conveniently available for sale up the hall in the Kabbalah gift shop. Ethan tells us that the Kabbalah water has special healing powers, and he can't divulge the secret formula, but the molecules have been altered to produce really special results. Okay, Ethan, I'm getting a little fed up with your bullshit now. How can you just lie to a room full of adults and tell me you can alter the molecular structure of water? I'm not much of a science guy, but isn't it pretty much H2O? What the hell have you Kabbalists done? Tossed in an extra molecule of hydrogen for good luck? Or should I say hydrogen? Then Ethan tells us that energy manifests itself in 22 forms, which just so happen to correspond to the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Because of their shape, sound frequencies, and vibrations, these 22 Hebrew letters act as antennae to connect us to these powerful positive energy sources. The example we give us is this. If you strike a triangle and then place a second triangle next to it, the second triangle will start to vibrate as well. This is called transference of energy. Out of the corner of my eye, I see redheaded actressy girl actually write in her notebook, "Buy a pair of triangles." Then Ethan hands out a laminated sheet to everybody, filled with the 72 names of God in Hebrew, which he said will connect us to these powerful positive energy sources. Now, it doesn't matter if you can't read Hebrew or not. That's not part of the equation. If you can't read Hebrew, all you have to do is scan these letters. That's right. Just make eye contact with one set of letters and then move on to the next set. And that's all you have to do for good shit to happen. Redheaded actressy girl notices a look of scorn on my face, turns to me and says, "Sometimes you need to take a leap of faith." So I leap. Every day for the next 2 weeks, I spend 10 minutes before I go to bed staring at these letters I can't read or pronounce. And Nancy thought it was a little weird, but she was supportive. Besides how she said anything, I always had the staring at the microwave at 4:44 crap to throw back into her tiny face. For whatever reason, the scanning soothes me. Maybe redheaded actressy girl is right. Maybe part of the healing process requires some suspension of logical thought. This minor connection to God or spirituality or whatever it is makes me forget about myself for a change. And maybe if I can forget about myself, rage and disease could forget about me too. So I scan the shit out of those letters. The scanning was going well over the next month, and I was feeling so much calmer, so much better. I decided to pursue the spiritual angle some more. So I go to a Buddhist temple and sign up for a weekend sitting still seminar. For $80, I will get to sit still for 8 hours on Saturday and an additional 8 hours on Sunday. I leave after 9 minutes. That's right, that's less than 2% of the curriculum and over $2 a minute per ass cheek. When I complained to my friend Jeff about how stupid meditation is, he's like, "Babe, you're not ready for pure meditation yet." "Okay, Jeff, what do I do?" Because maybe you need to do slow-moving meditation. I still had no idea what Jeff was talking about. Then he starts telling me about Tai Chi. I'm like, "Okay, Jeff, what about Tai Chi?" And Jeff tells me about, he knows a 92-year-old Tai Chi legend named Mr. Chow, who's this amazing instructor. I still had no idea what Tai Chi was, but I was curious to see a really, really old guy who still had a job in this economy. About a week later, I have my regulation Tai Chi slippers I'm forced to purchase, $15. And I walk into the dojo which is a converted two-car garage. And I see a bunch of older guys in T-shirts, all moving really, really slowly. Everybody's doing their own set of movements, and Mr. Chow goes around and corrects everybody individually. But I don't have anything to correct yet. At least I thought I didn't. Mr. Chow yells at me immediately to take all the curvature out of my lower spine, stand up straight. Then I have to drop my chest, roll my shoulders forward, and shoot my hips up. Then do all this while walking across the intentionally slippery garage floor in my girly $15 slippers. I take 3 steps and get yelled at again. I'm not walking properly. The ball joints in your shoulders don't move when you walk. Only part of your arm that moves when you walk is from the elbow down, just the forearm. Oh, and my breathing is all wrong. I have to breathe from my upper back, not my lungs. Of course, who uses their lungs to breathe? Jesus Christ, am I a fuck up? In addition to all my other shortcomings, I don't know how to walk, stand, or breathe. Then Mr. Chow stands alongside me, and he barks out a series of poses that I have to mimic. Poses, he calls out the names of them like paint the walls with your fingertips. Carry the ball. Thread the needle. Open the window. Eat the cowboy's hat. All right, that last one I made up, but the other two. At the end of the class, I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. It was the longest hour of my life, I'm not kidding. I figured I'd just wasted more time and money on another shenanigan, but for whatever reason, the rest of the afternoon, I felt great. I felt so calm and at peace. I went back to my house. I'm painting the walls with my fingertips in the living room. I'm carrying the ball in the kitchen. I'm opening the window. When suddenly I hear some honking coming from our tiny cul-de-sac. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It can be really frustrating living in a tiny cul-de-sac. There's usually some honking going on, just on the in-play 45-second bursts that were happening now. I shut the fake window and open up the real one and yell out, "Stop honking, motherfucker!" Sorry, Zoloft. Then I race outside and see that somebody's pickup truck had blocked in the neighbor, which, like I said, happens a lot in a tiny cul-de-sac. Then the neighbor and I exchange words, and it's not a good exchange rate for him that day. That night, Nancy and I go to sleep. And in the middle of the night, we hear some rustling in our yard. Assume it's a squirrel or a raccoon. When we got up for our respective days, Nancy to go to work, me to head back to Dr. Tam for my mandatory Zoloft renewal appointment, we noticed something different about our yard. There's a giant human shit in the center of the driveway. And yes, it's a human shit. The biggest dog in our block is 55 pounds. This is the shit of a 200-pound human. Nancy freaks out at me. She said if I hadn't yelled at the honky neighbor, he probably wouldn't have shit in our yard. She has a point. My quest for calm is starting to take a toll on our marriage. While I'm racing around going to Tai Chi classes and Kabbalah lectures and self-help gurus, Nancy's pulling 16-hour days in a cutthroat sitcom writing room, trying to come up with a punchline for the wacky next-door neighbor who can't find their waffle iron. Oh, one other little problem. The Zoloft has taken away my sex drive, which makes Nancy even more stressed out because now she thinks I'm not attracted to her, which isn't the case. I'm just more attracted to Zoloft. We say goodbye without a kiss or a forearm bash, and back I go to Dr. Tam's office for my mandatory Zoloft renewal appointment. Dr. Tam asks me how I'm doing. How am I doing, Dr. Tam? I'm a wreck! I'm losing my sex drive, my wife and I are fighting, my colon's palpitating, my legs are trembling, my arms are tingling, my head's pounding, and it feels like I'm getting a heart attack because some douchebag shit in our yard, because he wouldn't stop honking, because I was yelling at him, because he's an impatient douchebag. Dr. Tam pulls out his prescription pad and writes the numbers 1, 5, 0. I'm now one step away from the recommended maximum dose of Zoloft. My experiment in calm is headed in the wrong direction. Now I have to hurry up and calm down and raise my testosterone levels and lower my Zoloft dose so my wife will calm down. Luckily, Dr. Tan had another suggestion. Ayurveda is not a licensed healthcare practice. These are the words at the top of the waiver form I am about to sign. According to Ayurveda, which originated in India about 5,000 years ago, disease is an imbalance caused by improper diet, poor digestion, negative emotions, and stress, which creates a buildup of toxins in the body called ama. I figured I'm probably 95% ama, 5% fruit juice. The session starts when a bearded guy in his late 30s named Todd takes my pulse on each side for what must have been 15 minutes an arm, which I thought was weird. Then Todd disappears into a back room and returns and hands me a sheet of paper, which he says will be my new diet. Diet? Todd, I didn't come here to lose weight. What is this diet based on? Todd tells me that the diet is based on my Pitta Vata scores. Oh, my Pitta Vata, what? Which he says is based on my energy levels, which he says he got from pressing down at 7 different pressures on each arm to get 7 different energy levels. Anyway, on to Todd's magical diet. According to Todd's diet, I can have aloe vera juice and steamed okra, but no more spicy foods or tomatoes. I can have mung bean soup, whatever that is, but no more apples or bananas. I can have turkey, whew, yay, turkey, but no more pizza, frozen yogurt, or spinach puffs. No spinach puffs? That means no picnics! Todd! Miraculously, after just 1 week on Todd's magical diet, I feel calm, composed, and a bunch of other words I could have thesaurused, but I'm way too relaxed to bother with. Then, after a month on Todd's diet, between the Ayurvedic diet, some Zoloft, a little bit of scanning, and some Tai Chi, I feel better than I ever have in my life. So I head back to Ayurvedaville and sign up for the deluxe Ayurvedic package. This time I walk in, and Todd tells me immediately to take off all my clothes so he can give me a custom massage with custom-made nutrients thrust into every crevice of my body. I'm instantly uncomfortable. See, I'm not so crazy about being naked in public. Yes, in my 20s I stood on stage in a tiny Speedo, but believe me, the tiny Speedo makes a big difference. Plus, I'm not used to a masseur. In fact, I'd much rather have a really crappy massage from a woman than a really awesome one from a guy. So instantly, there's this weird dichotomy of having all these things done to me that are designed to relax me, but that's just making me more tense. Todd has me lay down on this high table, and he massages a mud-like paste into the back of my legs and my back, and then asks me to flip over. So I do. Then Todd massages the mud-like paste into my face and works his way down to my chest, where he's spending just a little too much time in my nipple region. I open my eyes a quarter of a centimeter, look over at Todd, and then I see it. Todd has a hard-on. The only other explanation is it's flaccid but gigantic. Either way, creepy! I've gone from uncomfortable to terrified. I gotta get the hell out of here. I would just run off, but I don't have my car keys. And no taxi cab is gonna be stopping for naked mud man. Then, the unthinkable happens. Todd leans over to get the far side of my chest, and, well, I'd like to think it was a pepper grinder in his pocket, but it isn't. His thing pokes me in the cheek! Jesus Christ! Hey, Todd! On my list of things I'm allowed to eat, I don't remember seeing the word cock! And Todd disappears into a back room and emerges 5 minutes later, holding up a clear plastic bag filled with green fluids. It's an enema. Todd tells me to lay on my side, keep the bottom leg straight, bend the top knee, and he'll just slip it in there for me. No way this guy's slipping anything in my ass. I am in charge of my own ass. So I grab the plastic tube from him and I jam it in there myself. The fluids slowly drip down into my colon. When the bag's finally empty, Todd tells me to lay on my back, so I do. And then he asks me if I think I can hold all the fluids inside me for the next 15 minutes. You know what, Todd? I have no idea. It's not like I've been training for the big enema competition. Then Todd sets a timer on the wall for 15 minutes and says that when it goes off, I'm free to shower, get changed, and go. Oh, but I'll probably be dripping out of my ass for a few hours. So he suggests sticking a panty shield into my underwear. Panty shield? Hang on for a second, Todd. Let me check my pocketbook. Nope, must be in the other one. Oh, I do have a tampon. Can I just ram that up there? Panty shield? Luckily, Todd said that they had some in the bathroom. All I had to do is peel back the wings and stick it to the inside of my boxers. Then Todd and I nod our goodbyes. And that was that. After showering and dressing, I take a big, deep breath of air and step outside the building. A winged panty shield stuck to the inside of my boxers. And green minerally junk dripping out of my ass for the next 5 hours. 3 of which are during rush hour. Other than that, I feel good. So good, in fact, that I convinced Nancy to see an Ayurvedist too. But not Todd. The only thing is, Nancy's Ayurvedist gives her a completely different set of foods to eat than me. Like, Nancy's told to eat spicy foods. I can't have spicy foods. I'm told to have seafood. Nancy can't have seafood. Nancy's told to massage almond oil into her scalp. I'm told to massage sesame oil into my shoulders. About the only thing that Nancy and I can both eat together are green beans. Now, this is going to sound stupid, so we start having a lot of green beans together. And believe me, it calms both of us down. And we get happy. And our sex lives are ignited. Our Thursday night cuddle parties start bleeding into Fridays. Our unicorn sightings triple. Life is great. Nancy and I even discuss having a kid. And then realize that might not be the path to a stress-free lifestyle. So then we discuss not having a kid. And instead, opt for something else. We start looking in dog shelters for dogs. The only thing is we can't agree on one. Nancy wants a little dog she can carry to work in her cargo pants. And I want a dog that weighs at least as much as a cantaloupe. After looking at dozens and dozens of dogs, finally, there was a love connection. Despite only being 3 months old, Kenyon was the calmest dog we had ever seen. Plus, even though he was only 3 months old, he already had the eyebrows of Andy Rooney. Too soon? From the moment we got Kenyon, he was magically able to anticipate all my moods and actions. On our first drive alone together, some guy cut me off on the highway, and before I could react to the other driver, my tiny mutt is scratching me with his paw, as if pleading for my composure. I had no choice but to obey him. I didn't want to upset the little guy. It's still hard to believe that even though he'd only been on the planet for 13 weeks, he was my role model. I soon developed a mantra to help me not overreact to things. What would Kenyon do? It sounds kind of cheesy, but believe me, it's a great litmus test. Whenever one of my business calls was returned, I think, what would Kenyon do? No problem. He'd lie in the sun and shut his eyes. Whenever somebody's cell phone went off in a movie theater, I'd ponder, what would Kenyon do? Simple. He'd flash his pointy grin and enjoy the semi-melodic ringtone. Whenever a parking spot I'd been waiting for was stolen by somebody else, I'd ponder, what would Kenyon do? Easy. He'd stare at the other driver and wag his tail. But I don't have a tail, so I just lift my leg and pretend to urinate on my emergency brake. Getting Kenyon has lowered the anxiety levels in our house to an all-time low. I can finally envision dropping down to 100 milligrams of Zoloft, and then 50 milligrams of Zoloft, and then 50 milligrams every other day, and then 25 milligrams every third day, and then 10 milligrams every ninth day, and then just licking a Zoloft once a month. And then getting off the Zoloft completely. The next morning, the phone rings and derails my fantasy. My father is in the emergency room in Florida. He's thrown his back out from transferring my mother one too many times from her bedroom to her bathroom. Now, both of my parents are immobile, which means I have to get down to Florida immediately, which means traveling without Kenyon. Nancy and I reluctantly drop him off at my friend Pete's house, and I stare into his big brown eyes. Kenyon's, not Pete's. And all four of our corneas tear up. Part of me wanted to just eat the plane tickets and throw Kenyon and Nancy in the car and drive to Florida, but my parents needed help now, not 4 days from now. I'd have to do without my wiry-haired mentor. During this trip to Florida, I also hoped to convince my mother to try some Zoloft too. See, a few years back during one of her many hospital stays, my father had signed a consent form behind her back, which allowed doctors to sneak some Paxil into her giant pile of pills. For 5 whole days, my mother had no idea she was on a mood elevator. For 5 whole days, she was actually civil to the doctors and nurses. For 5 whole days, she was happy. Then one day, she found out she was taking pills against her will and stopped taking the Paxil, which I still don't understand. With any luck, my mother will realize that taking Zoloft is nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about. Without luck, I'll get yelled at. My father had just been released from the hospital, and he had put on even more weight since we'd last seen him. He now had the stomach of a fat white man and the ass of a sassy black woman. My father's sole joy in life had been reduced to eating Breyer's ice cream straight out of the half-gallon container. Nancy and I went into my mother's bedroom and sat on the edge of her bed. Despite my mother's disabled body, she still had the hands and face of a 35-year-old. The one perk from sitting in a dark room for 3 decades. Before I could say anything to my mother, she turns to me and says, "Where is the shit?" Huh? Your father! We've been here less than 10 seconds and you're already calling Dad a shit? Nancy already looked uncomfortable. Look at that! My mother pointed to a water glass which was like 3/4 of the way full. What about it, Mom? That's all I have to drink all day! I don't understand. The doctor only says you can have 1 glass of water a day? No! Your father never comes by to refill it! He's too busy staring at the birds in the lake! All right, this is bullshit. My mother has a series of plastic buzzers plastered around her bedroom, which she presses liberally to summon my father. Every 15 or 20 minutes, and my father races in each time like a firefighter. Sometimes I wish my father would just put some Zoloft in some cheese and jam it down her throat. I go to bed early that night and wake up extra early the next morning. I want to get this Zoloft intervention over with. I go into my mother's bedroom, sit on the edge of her bed, and before I can say anything, she turns to me and hits a buzzer. "Mom, what is that for?" "I need this bag of ice removed from my legs." I can do that." "Your father's just in the other room stuffing his face. He's 3 seconds away." "Hello? 1 second away." I cut to the chase. "Mom, I just want to say, I've been taking Zoloft and it's really helped me, and I am not interested in Zoloft. I am not depressed." "Listen, it's not just for depression. Trust me, it'll help take some of your edge off." "I am not interested in Zoloft." And she leaned over and rang for my father. Well, so much for the Zoloft chat. I guess the green bean lecture will have to be rescheduled. Since my father's back was still in pretty bad shape, he couldn't get out of the house much, so I wound up running a lot of errands for him, going grocery shopping, filling prescriptions, and mailing comic books for this little side business he had. My father gave me a couple of Golden Age Captain Marvels that he said needed to be insured and mailed to Canada. He said it should cost about $30. So I go to the UPS store, give the guy the books, and the guy comes back with a monstrous price of $76. When I question the amount, I say, "Look, my father's pretty good with rates. This seems like a lot of money." The guy says, "That's the cheapest rate available." So I pay it. I go back to my parents' house to see what other errands I have to run, and I hand my father the receipt, and he's furious. He says that the comics didn't need to get there overnight. Overnight delivery was a complete waste of money. I'm like, Dad, the guy didn't give me any other choices. He said that was the cheapest rate available. So I go into my parents' living room, and I call up the UPS guy, and I slam him over the phone, and I call him incompetent and unethical, and demand my money back. When he shouts back at me, I tell him to go fuck himself, and then slam down the Donald Duck phone in the living room. I think that's the first time I ever said the F word in front of my parents. All the green beans, all the aloe vera juice, all my time with Kenyon, all the Tai Chi, all the scanning, all the Zoloft, washed away in an instant. I had failed. I was me again. I went into my parents' bedroom to tell them what had happened. Obviously, they already knew. I have a really loud voice. The amazing thing is how happy both of them are. My mother was ecstatic seeing me all riled up. And my father was happy because my mother was finally happy. It was a one pure moment of closeness we had in that visit. Actually, in many visits. Then I look over in the doorway and see Nancy on the verge of tears from all the tension. And I think to myself, this may have been how I grew up, but it doesn't mean I have to stay this way. I take a deep breath and tell my parents, I don't care about getting my money back. The myth of my family has always been that anger can control things. But in reality, yelling at Hummer drivers who don't signal, or pharmacists, or UPS clerks accomplishes nothing. And then it hit me. Me trying to bully my mother into taking Zoloft is just another way of me yelling, albeit through a Pfizer product. If anger was the only way to make my mother happy, I needed to find another method. My family needed a new myth. It didn't matter what it was. Couldn't possibly be any more destructive than the one we've been using for the past 3 decades. I'm always quick to point out to Nancy that my mother still hasn't accepted her disease. But in a lot of ways, I haven't either. Although I talk to my mother regularly on the phone, I'd never expressed true compassion for her condition. I never told her how her determination fueled me when she was first diagnosed with MS. She wasn't supposed to teach anymore. She continued to teach for the next 2 years laying on a couch, and how inspiring this was for me. I never told her how lucky I was to have her as a mother. She never hassled me to get better grades as long as I was trying. She never pressured me to get a real job as long as I was happy. This is a woman that never tried to control me pre or post MS. I needed to stop trying to control her. And, like Eileen from Anger Management says, stop having expectations. On our final morning in Florida, I go into my mother's bedroom, sit on the edge of her bed, turn to her and say, Mom, I just want to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you've had to go through all this. I know I talked about it with other people, but never with you. I hope you'll forgive me, and I love you. Yes, it was that awkward. Those are words not often thrown around in front of my parents. My mother smiles and then calls me an idiot. But that's okay. She looks happy. Happier than when I was yelling at the UPS clerk. It's a start. I guess creating new myths takes time. The cab honks to bring Nancy and I back to the airport. I fill up my mother's water glass and tell her I'll see her in March. On the way out, I see my father and contemplate throwing out all the Breyers ice cream in the freezer, but realize the decision is his. After dropping Nancy and our luggage off back in LA, I pick up Kenyon and drive up to the local dog park. And as I'm driving along the windy Hollywood Hills roads, it occurs to me, right now I'm really calm. But who knows what tomorrow will bring, or, for that matter, 10 minutes from now. Life and little things will always gnaw at me. And I know that there's no permanent solution for my condition, be it pills, doctors, or Hebrew letters that make me nauseous when I stare at them. But I'm up for the battle. I'll continue an Ayurvedic diet, a little bit of Tai Chi, some scanning, and for the moment, 150 milligrams of Zoloft. And hopefully that number goes down. Like an alcoholic, I have to work on myself day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute to stay calm. So, back to the dog park. I pull in and then I see him. Both of them, actually. The collie and his owner. It's a guy in a Honda who had given me the finger after almost crashing into me. It's a guy I had maniacally chased across a soccer field as if I'm going long for a Peyton Manning pass, except I wanted to spike his head, not the ball. Now, a little over a year after our incident, we're reunited. Personally, I can deal with the tension because as tense as it got, it's only a fraction of what it's like being around my mother. I approach him, and he finally sees me. He looks terrified, even though there's dozens of witnesses around. I stop about 3 feet from him and smile. It's the guy who inadvertently made me realize drugs would only take me so far. It's the guy who made me realize I had to hurry up and calm down. I turn to him and say, hey, I just want to say I'm truly sorry. I overreacted. I'm sorry. I stick out my hand for him to shake. After a really awkward beat, he shakes it. He has a pretty good grip, too. Probably could have kicked the shit out of me. Then, to celebrate, I pick up a nearby tennis ball and throw it as far as I can for Kenyon. And tear the radial nerve in my shoulder.